Hi, I will be explaining anxiety like I would explain it to a child. It will be very simple, a basic, simple overview about what anxiety is. Because most people actually have anxiety. A lot of people have quite mild anxiety, but for a lot of people it's quite extreme and it really affects their life quality. And you might have anxiety too, without even knowing it. Most people have been living with anxiety for years on end and they don't know they're in this. It's very hard to recognize. It's kind of goes because it's your new baseline. It's your new baseline thoughts are anxious thoughts. So you don't really recognize it. It's very easy to get into it without really noticing. So what is anxiety? Let's say a normal person, we think about how the weather is beautiful, what we will eat, about what we were gonna do tomorrow. And if you're anxious, you, oh, what can happen tomorrow? Maybe I'll get hit by a car. Maybe this person does this. You're thinking about an argument you had with someone. You're thinking about, oh, what if I go to the gym tomorrow and there's this guy that doesn't like me and we start having beef in the gym. It's just things like this, like anxious thoughts, negative thoughts. And these two deter your life quality because we're a constant thinking machine, right? You're constantly thinking. We can cure this through meditating, but it's also nice to really reduce our anxiety. And there's a couple of simple ways to do this, but I will be explaining to you how anxiety works. So your life quality gets kind of low when you're anxious all the time. So let's say you will laugh more, you will have an easier time making friends if you're not anxious. So how do you know if you really have anxiety? Well, there's this test that I will put in the description of the UK National Mental Health Organization. And if you score a 5 or above, you have quite severe anxiety. If you're below that, you can just be a little bit stressed out from something external, or you can still help someone with the information you're gonna get today. So if you're above 5, I do suggest you can get into cognitive behavioral therapy. But for most people, it's kind of weird to do because maybe you're anxious about talking with someone. It's quite a big step. So we can self-medicate and don't do this through drugs or cigarettes or bad habits like overeating, eating fatty foods, eating junk food, sleeping in. You shouldn't do self-medicate with these habits because these will detriment your life even worse, and you'll go to a downward spiral of anxiety when you really indulge in these habits. So you don't want to do it that way. How we want to self-medicate is through meditation to good habits that will lower our anxiety. For me, it was fighting that really lowered my anxiety because you know how to fight. Um, there's a lot of ways like exercise, good diet, and simple basic things. I will be making other videos in the future about all the things we can do to lower our anxiety. Because if you're anxious all the time, that's like a big handicap to your life quality and your happiness. It's like happiness with a big chain on your foot. Like you can't really be happy if you're always anxious and overthinking. So what is anxiety? When we're anxious, it's this part of our brain that connects with the spinal cord. It's the amygdala. This is the oldest part of our brain, and it's really evolved to make us survive in dangerous situations. So let's say we're in caveman times and there's a tiger that comes along. The amygdala spikes and you're going flight or fight mode. Now, obviously this is a great way to make someone survive, but when we're anxious, our amygdala is overactive. So what do you really do about it? Well, we can tune our amygdala down through practices. You have a lot of control over your own body. People don't know this, but there's a lot of biohacking and neurological breakthroughs you can make quite simple by simple habits. And so our amygdala is overstimulated. It's always active and we're constantly in the fight or flight mode, and this will really affect our thinking, and we won't be able to think clearly because we're always kind of stressed, we're always kind of paranoid like that when we're anxious. And you'll notice this when talking with people. Maybe they're not really 100% giving your attention. It might be because they're being anxious in their own mind. They're not really present in the moment when you're talking to them. They're not really paying attention because they're anxious about themselves, about other situations. Paper. So you're constantly in this fight or flight mode while it's storming. So I'm still gonna make off the video. There's my dog. Awesome. And when we're constantly in fight or flight mode, your brain doesn't really, this will really affect your thinking. And a way to quickly know this is to take that test, and also be introspective. You can journal about this. If you know what journaling is, really put in some effort to erase these anxiety, because you'll be easier making friends, easier time just getting stuff done, easier time getting yourself to do hard things, and it's a more enjoyable life experience. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.